Hey everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is Empowering Astrology. We're looking at the astrology for the week of April 26th through May 2nd, 2021. I'm really happy to see you all again. We weren't able to do the live broadcast last week because I was on vacation visiting family. I actually got a chance to leave. But if you saw my last video, there's a little bit of a crossover. I mean, like some of the content that I talked about last week is going to be threaded into some of the things we're going to talk about this week because we're in this time. We have a full moon today. That's sort of the big news. We have a full moon today in Scorpio at 7 degrees. And sort of the main thing about this full moon is that it makes what's called an opposition to Uranus and Taurus. And this is something that I've been talking about. I talked about it in last week's video, which was pre-recorded. I've been talking about it in my writing. We are in this story, the story that's been unfolding since 2018, 2019 of getting back to ourselves. Some part of our life needs authenticity, it needs reality, it needs us to be us. But maybe we're fighting it. Maybe there's something that's going on. Everybody's story is different. And this is kind of what I say every week or almost every other week. Astrology is about time. It's about how we live time, the energy of time, this sense of archetypical and symbolic time. And everybody is going to live time differently. Now we have collective time. This is why we all are feeling, some of us at least, are feeling the same thing. But then there's, what does this mean for us? What is our personal time? And this is based off our sun sign. It's based off of our rising sign. So we sort of, empowering astrology is about how do we understand the time that we're in, personally, collectively, understand what the astrology is asking of us in order to grow and transform. And then knowing that the astrology is just 50%, you are the other 50%, which means that you have to make the decisions that are right for you. You do have free will, believe it or not. But I think with Uranus, it's a reminder that there are forces greater than us. And even though we do have free will, we have to align ourselves with things that, again, are greater than us. So before we dive into the astrology this week, just reintroduce myself for those who do not know who I am. My name is Katie Sweetman. I am an astrologer and psychic medium here in Brooklyn, New York, and we gather every week to look at the astrology. So I know some of you are on the live chat. I see some familiar faces. Some of you are my clients. Some of you watch every week. So say hello. Tell me where you are watching from. I know I got to travel. I got to escape, but I do, the Sagittarius rising in me loves to know where in the world everybody is. I'm kind of a nerd for travel. So again, let me know where you're at. Let me know, what are you feeling this week? We start things off today, almost at August, April 20, I'm a little jet lagged, April 26, 2021, it's a full moon in Scorpio. So we need to understand a few basic principles. Number one, a full moon is the midpoint of a lunar month. A lunar month is a chapter of energy that sort of focuses on a certain theme, archetype, topic. 2 weeks ago, we have a new moon. 2 weeks ago, it was in Aries. So we're in this time of new beginnings, fresh starts, taking action. And now here we are, 2 weeks later, it's a full moon. If the new moon is a new beginning, then the full moon, it demands attention. If you can see the full moon, maybe it's nighttime where you're at, or maybe you're watching this on the replay. Yes, those who are watching on the replay on YouTube, on IGTV, or even listening on Spotify. But if you can see the full moon, there's a dynamic energy to it. It puts things in full light. And there is this sense in the astrology that when we have a full moon, we see things. We see things for what they really are. We have to take action. We are in an Aries lunar month. I forget what day, I think it was April 13th that we had the Aries new moon. We are in an Aries lunar month, and the Aries is all about taking action. So here we are 2 weeks later, and what are we taking action on? The full moon is highlighting it. Full moons create urgency. There's a sense that we can't quite sleep on something anymore. It puts things right in front of our face. There is a need to take action, but also to make a choice. Which way are we going? Is it a left? Is it a right? Is it an up? Or is it a down? So this is sort of one of the things that we're working with this full moon. The other thing is that it's in Scorpio. So the light of the full moon is going through this archetypical lens of Scorpio. Now, okay, I am a Scorpio, so I know this from a little bit of personal experience. Maybe some of you are a Scorpio, but Scorpio is the 8th sign of the zodiac. If Aries is new beginnings, we get all the way to Scorpio, and it's this sign that makes us face ourselves. Now, I tell people the zodiac is the wheel of life, meaning that everything that happens in creation, that happens in life, or happens in our life, happens somewhere in the zodiac wheel. So there has to be a place where we get challenged emotionally, where we feel vulnerable, where we have to test ourselves, or life is testing us. And this is sort of this scorpionic truth is that, and I put this in my Instagram today, you can follow me on Instagram, by the way. I put this, I said that we cannot grow without adversity. I said it differently, but this is the point. Like, you need the challenge. You need to get uncomfortable. And that's sort of the polarity that's happening with this Scorpio full moon, is that the sun is over in Taurus. The moon is over in Scorpio. That's what a full moon is. The moon is in the sign that's opposite where the sun is. Taurus is this sign that's about the rebirth of life. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, I apologize, astrology is very Northern Hemisphere biased. Here in the Northern Hemisphere, the tulips are blooming. They're literally blooming outside my building right now. It's the return to life. It's the smell of earth. It's fertility. It's vitality. But here's Scorpio. Scorpio's on the other side of the zodiac. It's this opposite, or this complement, depending on how you look at it, to Taurus. Now, Taurus is about life. Scorpio is about death. I know that's a little stark. I'm saying this with a lot of love and encouragement, but there is if you think about it, the sun is in Scorpio end of October, November, and here, at least in the Northeast, the leaves are falling. It's a time when the natural world is decaying and dying. So there's this story between Taurus and Scorpio of like, we have to understand that even though we are enjoying the fruits of the world right now, or really enjoying the return of the sun, it's spring here in the Northern Hemisphere, that there is a cyclical nature of life. So this Scorpio full moon highlights the cyclical nature of life. It says that things do end, but that end is necessary so that things can begin again. So yeah, it doesn't sound so scary when you put it that way. So what are you facing with this full moon? What are you feeling? Are you feeling a little scared? Are you feeling a little anxious? Are you feeling like there's something that you need to draw to a close? Now, the thing about this Scorpio full moon, and yes, it does highlight Scorpio themes of money, wealth, possessions, assets, benefits, death and rebirth, transformation, psyche, looking deep at yourself and looking deep at your inner saboteur. But this full moon also picks up on this, what's called Uranus and Taurus story. This is something that I've been talking about. I talked about last week's pre-recorded show. I've been talking about it in some of my writings. So let's go back to May of 2018, March of 2019. Now, these dates for some people, they were big months, especially if you are a Taurus, a Scorpio, Aquarius, or a Leo, or have major planets in those signs. It was the start of something powerful. It was like a seismic shift. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe you're scratching your head and like, I'm not so sure what was going on then. I looked at my Google Calendar and it just seemed like a lot of normal stuff. But maybe you had a thought at that time, which was a radical thought, and it planted a seed for something that is now starting to come to fruition, or it's taking you in a new direction. Oh, sorry, New York got my buzzer buzzing. So anyway, yeah, that's my doorman. Get my train of thought back. So go back to May of 2018, March of 2019. So that was the time when Uranus went into Taurus. Now, what is Uranus? Uranus is the planet of revolutions and awakenings and getting out of our way. So All the outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, they are what are called outer planets. Their job is to make sure that we grow and evolve both personally and collectively. The outer planets, they were first discovered. Uranus was discovered in 1781. So that's relatively in the blip of human history. That's not that long ago. These were planets that were discovered by telescopes through mathematical computations, and so they represent something that was not known to the ancients. Up until the 18th century, the sky ended at Saturn. Astrology ended at Saturn. Saturn represents a limit and a boundary. It represents manifested world, our physical reality. So when we deal with something like Uranus, we're sort of dealing with something that's outside physical reality, even though it might be manifesting physically. Uranus is trying to wake us up. It's trying to get us to make necessary changes. Again, astrology is 50%. You're the other 50%. And let's just say, for example, you've been holding on to something because you're afraid to let it go, even though you know that it's got to go. But you keep putting it off, you keep putting it off, you keep putting it off. But now it's going against you. Now it's a detriment. Now it's blocking some path that needs to open up. It's like you got to get on a train, but meanwhile you're stuck in something else. The universe is like, oh no, we got to get her or him over here. So here we go. Uranus shakes things up. It awakens things. It shows you new realities, new eyesight, new consciousness. And then suddenly your part of the astrology, your 50%, you're starting to look at things differently. Maybe you're making different choices. So here's the personal story that I told a few times before, and I told you all in the last week's broadcast, is that up until 2018, I had 20-year job, 20-year career in IT, and I knew that it wasn't my path in life, but that you got to pay that New York City rent. So what happened? Well, Uranus is like, oh no, she's not going to leave. Let's shake things up. So that's what started to happen in 2018. It was like suddenly I could see the end of the runway, and I had to had to fly or make a leap, whatever metaphor you want to use. And that was where sometimes life can kind of throw you a curveball or start to shake things up because you're too comfortable. You're getting in your own way. This is just one example, but I personally believe that Uranus is just trying to get you to be you, just trying to get you to live the life that is yours, meaning it's not mom and dad's life, it's not your friend's life, it's not your community's life. You are here to live you. So here we are with this full moon today, April 26, 2021, and it's just the next unfolding of the story. So yeah, that was 2018 for me, and then March of 2019, and I promise you I am an astrologer, but the date just kind of happened this way, even though it was perfect. March 2019, I left my 20-year career to do this. So yeah, before 2019, you did not see my face on camera. Trust me, I was not looking to put my face out there, but I knew that it was part of my dharma, part of my path. So sometimes we have to do things that are very uncomfortable, leave a career. I'm not, side note, time out. I'm not telling you to do anything crazy. Just everybody, do what's right for them, of course. But I had to be true to myself. So sometimes we have to leave a career. We have to leave a relationship. We have to pack up and move. We have to go to a different space, literally, metaphorically, spiritually, because where we are at currently, we can't grow. We can't, with Uranus is in Taurus right now. Taurus is about fertility, the blooms, life, stability, roof over our head, money, and the bank. And if we're blocking that, how do we get back to where we feel that we can bloom, that we can thrive? So this is where maybe Uranus is actually opening things up. I have Scorpio clients that have, relationships that have come into their life that are radically different than the people that were there before, in a good way. And that relationship is part of their transformation, their opening up. We will go through each of the zodiac signs in a few moments to kind of see where this is manifesting for you. But it's a powerful Scorpio full moon, and it's square Saturn. Saturn is in Aquarius. And so what I've been saying throughout 2021 with the astrology, it's as if we have one foot in a new life and we have one foot in an old life. And I think this full moon is really highlighting where we're being pulled in a new direction, but we are holding on to the old. So how do we start to resolve that split? Now, Saturn in Aquarius talks about systems and networks, and maybe we need to make new systems and networks in our lives in order to facilitate this change. Maybe if it is leaving a career, okay, well, if you leave your 20-year IT job, what are the new systems that you have to create for yourself in order for this new life to thrive? If you are doing something else, maybe you're making healthy, positive changes in how you take care of your body. Well, what do the new systems look like? And that's where the Saturn part of this full moon comes in. And, and I say all this because I get, from time to time, people are really afraid and nervous that, they hear other astrologers say, oh my God, this is a terrible full moon. Like all these bad things are going to happen, surprises and shocks. And first, we just have to really get grounded and understand, okay, well, what are these different components? What is a full moon? What is Scorpio? What is this bigger time that we're in? But because we can't look at April 26th and isolate it as this singular moment in time. Yes, of course, it is a singular moment in time, but it is part of a larger story arc. And this is why I wanted you all to, to see what the story arc is for you. And for some of you, you know exactly what the story arc is. And for others, maybe it's not so clear. And so this is where I invite you in your own time, of course, to go back. Let's say May 15th, 2018, that's when Uranus went into Taurus for the first time in 80 years. Back out November, I think it was November 7th. 2018, and then back into Taurus March 6th of 2019. And then what happens is every time the sun gets into Taurus, where it is now, it meets up with Uranus. And we'll have this later this week on April 30th, Friday, April 30th. So this, we're having these periodic check-ins. We'll have it in April, May, and then again when the sun goes into Leo season, and then again in Scorpio season, and again in Aquarius. These are what are called the 4 signs that make a cross with this energy. So we have these little quarters and chapters and check-ins. So yeah, where are you terrified of making a change? With the full moons in Scorpio, it's really making you face your fears and your anxieties. The Mars is square Chiron, where it's an old button. We're really afraid to take that leap. But ultimately, there is that faith or the inner knowing that maybe this is something that we need to do, even if it's scary. And maybe we do feel supported. Maybe this has been a long time coming. This is the thing. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's going to experience this astrology differently. And if you know the story, then it's not a surprise. It's just oh, look, this is happening. So how do you start to make choices that help you step into the highest good of this time? So if this time for you is a reinvention of relationships, for example, and the highest good is for somebody to come in who's completely different in all the best possible ways, how do you work on yourself, your fears, your insecurities that have been preventing people from coming in, for example? Obviously, you'll know what's right for you. Tomorrow, April 27th, we have Pluto retrograde. Pluto turns retrograde at 26 degrees of Capricorn. Talk about stories. Pluto's been in Capricorn since January of 2008. And then I think the very end, just like a retrograde, the very end of November 2008. So that story is 13 years in the making. This bigger, wherever Capricorn is in our chart, for example, where we are deconstructing, tearing down, ripping out, rebuilding, tearing down again, rebuilding. And we're starting, 26 degrees of Capricorn means we're starting to get to the end of Pluto's time in Capricorn. I know, can you believe it? It's been 13 years. Pluto will be in Capricorn until 2023, 2024, which means we got 2 years. Pluto goes into Aquarius, by the way. Yeah, Aquarius, get ready. Pluto goes into Aquarius in March of 2023. So that's just 2 years from now. But this, Pluto and Capricorn story, that's a whole other conversation for another time. That's a much older story. We've talked about it at different points in these little chats that we have each week. And if you are a Capricorn, you know exactly what I'm talking about, you can look at who you were and the life you had in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, especially, and it's completely different. So those are the big things. And I did also mention, of course, that come April 30th, Uranus, so the sun will conjunct Uranus. Is actually the third conjunction of the sun to Uranus since 2019. So it's a time of awakenings, new chapters, new beginnings, this new sort of page that turns in our Uranus and Taurus story. So let's sort of refresh ourselves. What is this story and how does this full moon highlight it? So Aries. Aries, this full moon is happening in your sign of what I'd like to call your 8th room. I talk about it this way because it makes it, a little bit more experiential, because astrology is something that we are inhabiting. It's not this little beam from the sky that hits us. It's just something that's constantly in us, outside of us, and around us. And Scorpio is your 8th sign. So this full moon is highlighting your deepest emotions, your deepest fears, your deep psyche, and where you need to make some necessary changes. Now, Uranus is over in your 2nd sign, Taurus. So there's a part of this bigger story, your Uranus and Taurus story, which is about reinventing value, worth, stability, security. Your material life has probably changed a lot over the last 2-3 years. Maybe you are making your income in a way that's very different than before. Maybe it's a little bit more esoteric, like your sense of value and how you spend money, or even your own value, your own self-worth has radically shifted or has started to radically shift. In order for this shift to happen, you have to face yourself. Scorpio. Facing yourself means that you are looking square on exactly what is in your way. How are you sabotaging yourself? Your self-worth, where does that come from? Does it come from mom and dad? Does it come from the past? Does it come from something, deeper? So how do you start to do that deep shadow work with this full moon and examine yourself, examine your blind spots, examine your fears, and how you get in the way of creating greater stability and security in your life. I will also say this full moon highlights, these themes around money, finance, the stuff that you share with other people, and it also talks about intimacy and vulnerability. So maybe you are feeling very raw, very real, and very vulnerable with this full moon. Mars is over in Cancer, so maybe you just need a hug or spend time with the people that you love the most. So it's a big full moon, in terms of the emotional component. But yes, it is talking about a greater story about your material life, material stability, and sort of the direction that you are aligning yourself in, because Saturn is over in your 11th sign. It's about the future. It's about your vision for the future and where you are steering your life towards. Taurus. This is happening with you. I mean, Taurus, go back to the person you were in January 2018. And I'm pretty sure things are different, especially if you're an early Taurus, means you're born in that last week of April, starting the beginning of May. Little side note, Uranus is at 10 degrees of, I think it gets to 12 degrees, no, it gets to 14 degrees this summer before turning retrograde. So we're starting to get the middle part of Taurus. If you're born in the middle part of Taurus, I forget what dates that aligns with. I think it's May 5th, May 6th, May 7th. Now this is time for you to transform. So everything that I said earlier doubly applies to you. Where are you getting in your way? Taurus, I love you. I say this as a Scorpio. You're the sign that will hold on to things. You will hold on to patterns. You will hold on to stability. Mind you, that's normally a good thing. We need stability in life. But there's this point where it doesn't become a good thing, where your fears, your instabilities, or your insecurities are preventing you from moving forward, and life is trying to get your attention. Maybe for some of you, you've already made those bigger changes. You already are the very different person than you were a few years ago. So here we are. It's just another unfolding chapter. Is life going to come at you? Probably not. Is there a light bulb that's going to go off? I hope. I mean, the whole point of this, the whole point for any of the signs is for you to awaken to the real you, to you awaken to your higher purpose, and for you to awaken and hopefully start to feel that you can do this, the highest potential for your life. So Uranus is like, hi, I'm trying to help you. You can fight me or not, but we're doing this. So this full moon is also highlighting relationships. Scorpio is your relationship sign. So this is the natural time in your zodiac calendar for you to focus on other people in your life. If you are not in a relationship and that's something that you desire, maybe somebody is coming in, maybe you're meeting somebody new. If you are in an existing relationship, that relationship needs your attention. Maybe there's a sense of needing to talk about things, communicate more. So this is all relationships. It doesn't have to be romantic relationships. This is about you connecting with people in a very different way because you have changed. That's the thing. When you make changes, you have to connect to the people around you differently. So it's a really powerful full moon for you, Taurus. I know it's your birthday season. Happy birthday. But really think about, okay, well, what are your biggest goals for this life? And where are you playing it safe? Where do you need to get even bigger? Where do you need to push yourself out of the mud, so to speak? Where do you need to stop hoarding and holding on to things and letting go? So yes, pay attention to the stories, and maybe this is a really powerful birthday for you, Taurus. Gemini. So this is happening behind the scenes. Taurus is what's called your 12th sign. The 12th sign is the last sign of anybody's chart, anybody's zodiac wheel. And the 12th sign is the most invisible. It's the most spiritual. So this is a time when you're having to go into your unconscious to see what's in your blind spots. Pay attention to your dreams. Gemini, maybe you're getting hints from your psyche in places that you wouldn't normally find them. Like you're having this really powerful dream that's giving you this insight. Pay attention to your meditation or your self-reflection, because this is a time where you're having to do a lot of internal work. Now, Uranus is in a part of your chart where it's, I call it the God room in your astrology house. And how do you awaken to something outside of yourself? Does it involve spirituality? Does it involve meditation? Does it involve sort of this greater self-awareness of your place in the universe? On the other side of things is the Scorpio full moon. Now, Scorpio for you is your sign of health, wellness, how you take care of the body. It's work, it's projects, it's sort of that day-to-day minutia of your life. It's a place where you really see how your deeper emotions connect to your physical body, kind of that psychosomatic energy. So this full moon is sort of putting health and wellness in the spotlight, but it's also showing the connection between, your spiritual health and your physical health, your spiritual service and physical service, heaven and earth, sort of these two places in your chart. And then, of course, there's Saturn. It's kind of hard to forget Saturn's up in Aquarius. And you're thinking about faith. What do you believe in? What's your truth? What's your meaning? So this full moon is really, how do you get grounded during this time? And I know, Gemini, the past few years were probably a bit hard for you. So I think this full moon is really asking you to get rooted and grounded, but also continue to do this deeper work of trying to understand your faith, your truth, your meaning. Cancer. So this is the time in your zodiac calendar when the spotlight is on you in a way. Scorpio is what's called your fifth sign. So the fifth sign is about creativity. It's about how you express who you are and really having the courage and bravery to be yourself. Now, this is the thing. Most of us don't know who we are. We are afraid to be who we are, but who we are, it's a feeling. It's like a taste, it's a smell, it's an essence. And it's something that lives inside of us, and it's something that we take with us after this life. So how do you get in touch with that? You open it up, you let it, live in things. The fifth sign is a sign that's very highlighted with artists and creatives. Not to say that you are an artist or a creative, Cancer, but it is a time for you to find artistry, to find creativity, for you to connect to what makes you you. So have fun and have play with this full moon. I know play and fun are two words that aren't normally associated with Scorpio, but nevertheless, Cancer, like really feel yourself during this time. Feel that your power. Yes, Cancer, Scorpio is your fifth sign. You actually have a lot of power in you, but there's Uranus on the other side of things. So there's been this 2-3 year story of you really shifting and awakening your connection to community, friendship, and even humanity. What is your place in the world? Well, sometimes we're afraid that our friends will reject us if we are being exactly who we are, or our family, or our community. So how do you have the bravery and courage to be you, knowing that that might put you at odds with the people you were friends with? Maybe they aren't your friends. Maybe that's the bigger story and all of this. And I will say Saturn is over in your 8th house, your 8th room. So this is a time for you to really look at how you self-sabotage, how you get in the way of you, and how do you, really let go of those barriers and that blocks, and find the courage and the bravery to go out there in the world and to be you 100%, and to find people that you are, like-minded, that you connect to. Leo. So Leo, you're one of the 4 signs that's really sort of in this energy. It's in the kind of that fixed cross. So this is a time when it's all about career. So your Uranus and Taurus story is about your professional life. It's about the role that you play in the world, your ambitions, your direction. So back 2-3 years ago, May 2018, March 2019, Uranus rolls into your career sign, takes a look around and says, okay, no. I'm being silly. Maybe you have spent your whole life being a lawyer or being a this or being a that because you thought that was exactly what you were supposed to do. I've had this conversation with other Leos, other Leo risings. They sort of got on the script, except they got to a point in their life where they realized it was somebody else's script. It was mom and dad's script. It was society's script. Well, how do you live your script? So I know a lot of Leos are making big career changes right now. They're doing some 180 career changes, or this is the thing about Uranus. Uranus either says like, this is who you are, why are you trying to be something different? Or it's saying, yes, be you, but now be you 100%. And this is where you see Uranus in the charts of people that suddenly get famous. And I don't mean like reality TV star famous. They suddenly get recognized for their talents, for their abilities. And people are like, oh, wow, this person is actually doing their thing and they're an inspiration. Uranus is like, yes, let's do it more, bigger, bolder. So maybe this is relevant to you. You're exactly where you need to be, but now you need to do it 100%. So this is where you might see 2 different stories for Leo, but it is about career, this Uranus and Taurus story. Now, on the other side of things is the Scorpio full moon. Scorpio forms the base of your chart. It's home, it's stability, it's roots and foundation. So this full moon is sort of the natural time in your zodiac calendar to move. And maybe, Leo, you are thinking about a move. Maybe you're wanting to put down roots. Maybe you're wanting to make a change in your living space or home environment. And maybe on a sort of a deeper emotional side of things, you're looking into deeper feelings, stuff from the past, stuff from family. And maybe you're like, oh, wow, like I'm doing this because mom and dad did that, or I'm doing this because my ancestors did this, or I'm doing, so this is about you really coming down into the core of who you are, putting down roots, getting stable, getting secure, and maybe having to move in order to do that. With Mars in Cancer, by the way, this is about letting go of a lot of old stuff. And then, by the way, Saturn is in Aquarius, your relationship sign. So there's also an aspect of this that's about other people. It's how you connect with other people. It's about partnership and accountability. And how do you team up with people? And how do you create space for other people in your life so that they can be a support for all of these bigger changes that you're making? Virgo. So this Uranus and Taurus story for you has been about faith, truth, and meaning. Now, Uranus has been in your ninth sign since 2019. And the ninth sign is all about how do you see the world and how do you see yourself in the world. Now, on a very traditional side of things, this can be higher education, meaning you see the world because your degree told you to see the world this way, or you see the world this way because religion told you to see the world this way. It's a very worldly place in the astrology chart, but it's also one where we can get our blinders on. So maybe we see things a certain way because that's how we were taught to see it, but maybe that's not reality. So for some of you Virgos, the past few years have been about awakenings, really opening up your eyes for the first time and seeing the world in a very different way. Virgo, because you're an earth sign, sometimes you can get a little stuck a little bit in your way. And New York's it's a full moon, so New York gets really loud during full moons, like sirens. And anyway, Virgo, I think there's like a Mr. Softy truck in the background. If you are a New Yorker, you know exactly what the Mr. Softy truck sounds like, but a little jingle of the ice cream truck right now. But anyway, Taurus, Virgo, Taurus is your ninth sign. So maybe you are thinking about going back to school because you need a new education. Maybe that is more of a metaphoric statement. Like maybe you need to educate yourself in a different way. And maybe just going back and looking at things the past few years, you see how there's been a shift in your beliefs, a shift in your thinking, a shift in your ideology, a shift in your convictions, and maybe even a shift in your sense of right and wrong. Because this part of the chart also talks about morality. I know morality is a big word, but also like this sort of moral compass that we all have. Now, on the other side of things, this full moon is in the sign of Scorpio. It's in your third sign. So that part of the chart is about ideas and information, communication, travel, and needing to take classes and sort of get back to basics. Now, there's sort of this educational component that's happening with this full moon, and how do you get yourself educated, but how do you get the new ideas? How do you get the new information that's going to help you see things differently? It is, on another kind of fundamental level, is about communication. So really pay attention to the ideas that you're having, the aha moments that you're having, the information that you're getting, the news that you're getting. Maybe you're getting something that sort of comes out of left field that makes you see things differently. And, Saturn is in Aquarius. It's in your sign of health and wellness, how you take care of your body, work, projects. So let's not forget that Saturn is trying to get you to get very serious about how you take care of your body and how you organize your day-to-day life. So maybe this whole concept around beliefs and how you see things also extends to how you take care of yourself. And maybe you need to take care of yourself in a very different way. Libra. So this full moon is about, lost my train of thought for a moment because I'm thinking about ice cream trucks and Mr. Softy. It is Taurus season after all. Taurus is food and, pleasure, eating. Anyway, get back on thought. So Libra, so your Taurus story is, Uranus is in what's called your eighth sign. You hear me talk about this a lot, the eighth sign, the eighth room. So a couple of years ago, back in 2018, 2019, Uranus walks into a part of your astrology chart, your astrology house, so to speak, where you have to now face yourself. You have to see yourself on a deeper level, and maybe you've not seen yourself on that level before. Maybe there's been a huge emotional shift, psychological shift in the things that you've held on to. This includes trauma. This includes the past. Maybe there's been a radical internal shift over the past couple of years. Now, this time is about you awakening to the deeper part of you, including your own inner saboteur. We all have one. We all have the version of self that that always gets in the way, that says no when we really want to say yes, and yes is in our best possible interest. So really do the deep psychological work right now and look within. On the other side of things, Scorpio is what's called your second sign. Second sign is about money, income, stability, security. So how do you sort of look at yourself on a deeper level and how the deeper parts of you, the inner saboteur, is getting in the way of creating more stability in your life, creating more monetary stability, and maybe these deeper themes around value and worth, self-worth. You know, how your experiences in the past and maybe traumas have impacted your self-worth, because Saturn is over in your fifth sign. I know there's a lot of stuff going on with this full moon, just like that Mr. Softy track. Saturn's in your fifth sign, so you're really in this 2-year period of time where you have to get serious about who you are and what makes you you. So this full moon might be sort of really showing you some things that maybe you haven't wanted to look at, or maybe you're embracing it. Maybe you're doing that inner work, that shadow work, and you're doing it and making it a joy. Because I think ultimately, even if it is shadow work, we have to find the passion in it. We have to find the joy in it. Otherwise, it just beats us down. All this digging and inner work and inner child work and all that. So Libra, it is, this kind of deeper focus on the psyche with this full moon, but also money, material stability, and these deeper themes around value and worth. Scorpio, I know, it's talking about me, talking about my sign. Scorpio, so this full moon is putting you in the spotlight. So this is the time of the year where the full moon aligns with Scorpio. So it's a time when all eyes are on Scorpio or things that are Scorpio-like. Death and transformation. Yes, I said the D word. Rebirth, power, control. So maybe there's something about your life where you are in the spotlight. Maybe you're getting recognition for something. But we can't forget that Uranus is over in your relationship sign. So this is this story that has been going on since May 2018, March 2019, where you are opening this new time in relationship. Now, again, this means all relationships, not just romantic relationships. Scorpio, you are a sign, I've said this before, who has a lot of guard. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So how do you let people in? How do you let the right people in? I know a lot of Scorpio risings, especially those that were born earlier Scorpio, where their love life, their relationship life is radically different. They're with partners that are so different than the past, or maybe there's been a shift in a marriage. Maybe it's not always. Uranus is not always a negative influence. It's just, like I said, just trying to get us out of our way. But this is a time where you need to open up and connect to people on a very different level. This means finding your intimacy, finding your vulnerability, being able to power share with a partner. I know it's a radical concept, Scorpio. You want to be in control of everything, including the minutiae of life. But yes, you have to allow other people to come in. And so I think this full moon and even the opposition to Uranus and the square to Saturn is showing where you are stubbornly holding on to things. And so you, Scorpio, and this also pertains to Leo, Taurus, and Aquarius, it's like the seismic, the tectonic plates of your life are trying to move. And I said this, I think, in another Facebook Live, is that it takes, and I have this with clients, it's like they have so much power, because we have power, believe it or not, it's not just a Scorpio comment. They have so much power that it's as if that they are trying to hold the tectonic plates of their life. And I say this to them, they're like, well, I can't be that powerful. And I'm like, well, you're so powerful that everything is stuck. How can things move? How can your life breathe? How can there just be natural flow if you are trying to be in control of everything? So I think this full moon is really highlighting this dynamic around control and needing to let go. I know it's a radical concept, Scorpio. You're gonna be okay. We're all gonna be okay. I think that this is the bigger lesson right now for Scorpio, and where over the next, well, at this point, 5 years, 4 years, 5 years, Scorpio is going to have to find a new reference point for relationships, power, control, connection, interconnection, and even home and family, because Saturn's down in Aquarius right now. Where is home? Who is home? Where do you want to plant yourself? You're in this time, Scorpio, of settling down, and maybe people are coming into your life, whether it's romantic or not romantic, that are radically shifting your concept of home and family. So yeah, Mars is in Cancer. Mars is your planet, Scorpio. Cancer is your sign of foreign travel, higher education, seeking and searching the world. So maybe you're getting very philosophical at this time and really thinking about what you believe in, or getting a chance to travel. Sagittarius. So this full moon is in your sign of, it's like your last sign. It's the 12th sign. And the 12th sign is the most spiritual. It's the most subtle. So it's a sign where you have to let go and sort of clear a lot of spiritual, emotional, and psychic space. So this is a time when there's a focus on retreat, going within, trying to find inner truth, inner meaning, and also deeper answers. So there's a highlight of meditation, some spiritual practices. Maybe you just need to lay low for a couple of weeks. Maybe you need to recuperate. Maybe you haven't been feeling well. Maybe you need to, let go of old habits, go to rehab. Sorry, maybe that's a little pointed, but there's a time when this full moon actually gives you an opportunity to make lasting positive changes in your life, both physical and non-physical, and also spiritual as well, because Uranus is over in your 6th sign. The 6th sign is about health and wellness, your habits. How do you take care of yourself? How do you organize your life? And so if you have attachments and if you have habits that are not helpful or healthy, this full moon is really helping you to have an opportunity to let things go. And when Scorpio lets things go, it lets things go. So yes, this is happening, this giving you this opportunity, but you may need to do a lot of inner work, a lot of reflection to see what exactly it is that you do need to let go. And maybe you know exactly what needs to be let go of. But I will say Uranus this past few years has been in a story, or been in the part of your chart that's about how your relationship with your body, how you inhabit yourself, how you treat yourself, how you take care of yourself. So you maybe have making some big changes in fitness and diet, or like kind of the foods that you eat, and sort of being in a more harmonious relationship with your body. So this full moon might also highlight that connection. With Saturn in Aquarius, you've got some big choices to make. And it's also a time when you have to take choice as well as your voice seriously. Capricorn. So this full moon puts the spotlight on friends, community, how you kind of connect to the people out there in your network. It's, social networking, social networks, your social circle. This full moon, is highlighting a friendship, people that you are connected to, and even, really close friends that you have a very strong one-on-one connection with. Now, the other side of things is where Uranus is. And Uranus has been in your 5th sign since 2018, 2019. So that part of the chart talks about you. Who are you, Capricorn? And Capricorn, you've been through so much over the last 13 years with Pluto and Capricorn. It's like you are physically not the same person that you were in 2008. Pluto has been taking you apart so that you can be rebuilt in a much different way, but it has not been an easy process. With that in mind, with Uranus in your 5th sign, you are in an awakening of self. This is a time for you to express the real you, not the you that mom and dad are, not the you that you thought you were, but this is for you to really give yourself the permission to liberate yourself from yourself. This means discovering your talents, discovering your abilities, and discovering what makes you you. Saturn is your planet. Saturn is in the sign of money, income, material stability, worth, self-worth. So maybe who you thought you were is based on a sense of value and worth. That is not the case anymore. Aquarius. So this full moon puts the spotlight on your career sign. Yeah, Scorpio is your career sign. So this is a natural time in your zodiac calendar to make a change in your professional life, to make get a job, to hear about a position, to go after your goals and ambitions, and to generally focus on the responsibilities in your life, the direction you want your life to go in. However, on the other side of things is Uranus. Uranus is in your home and family sign. That's the bottom. So the bottom is like the support of the chart. It's like the roots, the support of the house, your astrology house, so to speak. So you might be moving. Maybe you made a radical move a few years ago or a couple years ago. Maybe you're thinking about making a radical move because the bigger question is, where is home? Who is home? Where do you need to be rooted and grounded at this time in your life in order to create the stability and security that you need? And maybe that's in a very different place than you were a few years ago. Maybe it's exactly where you live right now, but now you need to give yourself permission to come into this life, to come into this body, to come into this world. Maybe you've been disassociated, maybe because of the past, maybe because things that happened. But your home life is undergoing a radical shift in some way, and this could be on a physical level. This could be meaning you're redecorating, maybe you're remodeling, maybe you're moving out of state, maybe you're moving out of country. For example, I know a lot of Aquariuses that have made this is a very American example, but made cross-country moves at this time, Aquarius rising. So things are shaking and shifting in your life right now, Aquarius. Yes, you're one of those 4 signs that I've highlighted that are feeling this Uranus and Taurus story, this full moon the most. Here's sort of the deeper existential question. Now, if this time is about career, because that's where the Scorpio full moon is about. Okay, well, how do you make changes in the home environment or your roots in order to support new ambitions, new directions, greater ambitions? It's like you can't climb higher on the ladder. And I don't mean this in a money, gotta get success sort of way. I mean, how do you living yourself, living your place out in the world, but how do you go higher if the base is wobbly? So maybe the base has been wobbly for a long time and you got to resecure it, or maybe you got to put it someplace else. So, I will say Saturn is in Aquarius right now. It'll be in Aquarius for the next couple of years. So Aquarius, you are in a time of bigger changes. It's new beginnings. It's been powerful new beginnings since December 17th of 2020. And this is time where you have to sort of grow up in a way and start this new chapter in your life, this new 30-year chapter. I know Aquarius, you're a sign that your life sort of has these 30-year story arcs. Anyway, that's another thing for another time. So really pay attention to the story about home and family, the past, roots, foundation, stability, you, and what's happening at this time. Last but not least, Pisces. So this is happening in a part of your chart. This Uranus and Taurus story is happening in the part of your chart that talks about voice. Pisces, you have to find your voice if you haven't found it already. And this means speaking you, not sort of saying what you think other people think you should say, but awakening to the power of your voice. This full moon is in Scorpio. It's in your 9th sign. So this is about broadcasting your voice. The 9th sign, the 9th room, the astrology house, there's a sense of broadcast to it. It's publishing. So how do you get your voice out there? Now, maybe this is a very niche example, but Pisces, if you're a writer or if you do something that involves like communication, how do you open up yourself to get those ideas out there on a bigger level? Does this involve social media? Does this involve writing a book? Does this involve public speaking? So there's this dynamic that's happening around communication, voice, the mind, thinking, but also where is it pointed towards? How are you sharing it in the world? And sort of these bigger themes around belief and faith and truth and meaning, and having to, let's say, stand up for what's right or stand up for your convictions at this time. Saturn is in your 12th sign, your last sign. So Pisces, you're in this sort of 2-year period that's taking you to early 2023 when Saturn goes into Pisces. And that's when March of 2023 is when you start this big grand chapter in your life. I know I'm getting ahead of myself. We have to get through 2021 first. But in order to prepare for this next big chapter in your life, you have to take inventory with everything that's in your life presently, both physically and spiritually. Pisces, it's as if you're in this space right now where you're sort of looking around and there's all these boxes. You're like, what's in these boxes? Well, these boxes contain everything that you've been carrying with you over the last 30 years. The memories, the good, the bad, the complicated, the not so complicated. And you're having to sort of go through things, let things go, reorganize. And so this is a time that's sort of making you get in touch with your inner compass, your intuition. As you open and maybe find your voice right now, Pisces, you have to do the inner work, and maybe that's helping you to shift intuitively and shift your ability to communicate intuitively. And maybe for some of you, I know Pisces is just a very intuitive sign in general, maybe that's really giving you an opportunity with this full moon to get these intuitive ideas out there in the world. So really listen to your dreams, your intuition, your premonition. Do ask yourself, am I grounded? Because we always need to be grounded when we're working with our intuition. Otherwise, it's an illusion. But this full moon, and especially your Uranus and Taurus story, is really highlighting how you speak, how you listen, how you learn, the choices that you make, and the direction that you're taking your life in. So that is your look at this full moon in Scorpio and its opposition to Uranus and its T-squared to Saturn for the week of April 26th to May 2nd. I can't believe we're about to hit May. That means we're starting to get to the midpoint of 2021. May is going to have a lot of big astrology in it. We'll talk about that next week when we sit down. I want to thank you all for joining me for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman. I'm an astrologer and psychic medium here in Brooklyn, New York. And like I said, I see some familiar faces on the chat. Thank you so much for joining me week after week and supporting my work. You can follow me online at empoweringastrology.com, on Instagram, IGTV. I'm on Facebook, YouTube. You can listen to this on Spotify if you just want to listen to this as a podcast. And you can sign up for my newsletter. I put the links in the show notes. And also there's some further reading in the show notes if you want to know a little bit more about what Uranus and Taurus means and maybe what it means to you, a little refresher course. And of course, you can book a consultation with me. I will be starting to branch out a little bit more. I know, a lot of you asked me about teaching. I'll be doing more of that in the future. Stay tuned. Until next week, take care, be well, have a wonderful full moon. I know it's bringing up a lot for all of us. Just sit with it and really reflect on how this connects to a story that began back in 2018, 2019. So until next week, bye.